Senator Harris, how you doing?
Very well. How are you, Sam?
I'm blessed. I'm charged up around here, you know?
Oh, I do. I hear folks are active and taken to the streets.
Yeah, early voting is going on, man, and record numbers. What's your take on that, Senator?
I'm just so excited about it. First of all, let me say I'm so sorry I wasn't able to be in Cleveland today. I planned to be there in person, but I'm with you virtually. I've been there many times before. The great Congresswoman Joyce Beatty has been a real friend and professional friend as well, and so I'm sorry I haven't been able to be there, but I want you to know that between Marcia Fudge, Joyce Beatty, and the whole delegation, that we are turning folks out to vote, and it's because there's so much at stake in this election, and it's about health care, it's about criminal justice reform, it's about the economy and bringing people jobs, it's about funding HBCUs, it's about so many things that are directly relevant to how people live their lives and what they need and deserve from their government.
When you hear the names George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, what comes to your mind, Senator?
Well, what comes to my mind is, it's 8 minutes and 46 seconds of an American man being tortured in front of the American people with a knee of a armed, uniformed police officer on his neck. And what we must do, and what we've known for generations, the world is now seeing what we've known for generations. There are two systems of justice in America, and we've got to make sure that we are speaking truth about it and the need for reform and accountability in policing, which is why Joe and I, on our agenda and our commitment around what we're going to do, it's going to include a ban on chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if that were the case. It's going to be about creating a national registry of police officers who have broken the law so that they can be tracked and can't leave one jurisdiction and go get hired in another jurisdiction. We're saying we need to decriminalize marijuana and expunge the records of people who've been convicted for marijuana offenses. These are the kinds of things that need to happen to reform our system. And talk is not enough. We need action, and Joe and I are very committed to that action.
Yeah. The current pandemic, what are the plans?
First of all, I appreciate you asking, Sam, because the fact is that let's just start with the fact that we have a plan, and Donald Trump has not had a plan, never had a plan.
Talk to me.
You know what I'm saying? And so look, where are we today? We're at the numbers where we're looking at over 175 cases, 75,000 cases in Ohio, and over 5,000 people have died because of the pandemic. Nationally, we're looking at numbers where we're looking at over 8 million people who have contracted it, and 217,000 people who have died from it. And so we need a plan, and Joe and I have a plan, and it's about a national plan for testing, for contact tracing, for treatment, and God willing for a vaccine as soon as we get it. And on the vaccine piece, it's really important to know, Joe and I also recognize and talk openly about the racial disparities in terms of the fact that black folks are 3 times as likely to contract the virus, twice as likely to die from it, and what we need to do then in terms of testing and treatment and vaccines to take those disparities into account to make sure nobody is left out and left behind. That's why as part of our plan, you asked for a plan, it includes a plan of focusing on racial disparities, taking those into account so we can make sure nobody is left behind. And, when you look at the pre-existing conditions issue in terms of the issue of treatment, it's also backing up what we need to do around realizing that Donald Trump's in court trying to get rid of Obamacare, which of course President Obama together with Vice President Biden made happen so that 20 million people got health coverage that didn't, and we covered people with pre-existing conditions. And Donald Trump's in court trying to get rid of that. Why should we care about that? Well, pre-existing conditions include anybody you know who has diabetes, anybody you know who has high blood pressure. right? And what we need to do to make sure that an insurance company can't reject them when they're looking for coverage so they can get health care. Joe Biden is trying to make sure that, one, we protect that, but that we also expand it, that we lower Medicare eligibility to age 60. Donald Trump, meanwhile, is trying to get rid of the whole thing because he's been so obsessed with trying to get rid of anything Barack Obama and Joe Biden created. But you know what? That's why people are taking to the streets, and over these next 17 days, we're going to do everything we can to urge people to vote early and vote safely, and let's have our voices be heard and change the course of what has been happening.
Would you consider, if these numbers don't go down, would you consider a lockdown again?
I don't think it has to come to that. But what we do need, see, here's the problem. We have had a complete failure of leadership in Donald Trump. And we have had a complete lack of leadership in terms of what we need to say people should have, wear masks. And that's just an extension of love thy neighbor. Yeah. It's about saying, right? It's about saying that we need to make sure that people socially distance and not have rallies where you're bringing thousands of people together suggesting they don't need to wear masks and having them packed into a place. It's about leadership. Joe Biden has been saying from the very beginning that we need to have a plan, and also that we need to make sure that people are being responsible as an extension of the love of each other and community. Donald Trump has not done that. Joe Biden will.
Senator, I have a question here from Instagram. What is your take on minimum wage? Here in Ohio, it's $8.55. Of course, Ohio, California difference. I think California is at 15. What is your take?
I believe we need to raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. So does Joe Biden. But I'm going to tell you something. I also recognize that, folks, nobody aspires to a minimum wage job. And so part of the plan for Joe and me is to say we need to create more jobs that pay $30, $40 an hour. We are, one of the things I love about Joe, we are all about making sure we are going to grow good-paying union jobs. We are all about saying we're going to protect workers' ability to collective bargaining, and we're also going to invest billions of dollars in the infrastructure of our country, roads and bridges, and that's going to be about millions of jobs. We're going to triple Title I funding for public schools. So many of the schools in Cleveland and Columbus and all over the state are Title I schools that, they don't get funded as well as they should because the tax base of the community is lower than other areas. But that's not fair to the children of those communities, right? And so Joe and I are taking that into account. But it's all about saying that we understand the connection between all of these issues and how well people are doing economically. So, for example, Ohio has a history of redlining, and we know that has left a lot of folks out of the ability to have home ownership, which is one of the greatest sources of intergenerational wealth. So Joe and our plan is for a $15,000 tax credit for first-time homeowners to help them with down payments and closing costs, which is all about helping people just get through the door to do what they want to do, to take care of their families, and to have the kind of security that comes with home ownership.
Yeah. Senator, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Ice Cube, all over the news, met with the Trump administration, and he says that the Democrats pretty much told him, let's wait until after the election. Is that to be true? And what is your take with Ice Cube?
Well, here's the thing. Listen, what I have to say is this. Black folks have a lot at stake in this election. It's about health care, which we have talked about, when we know that we are 3 times as likely to get this disease, twice as likely to die from it, when we know there's an issue I've worked on for years, maternal mortality, black maternal mortality, when we know black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than other women. Black women are 3 times more likely to have lupus than other women. So Joe and I are focused on those issues as it relates to health care. Let's talk about the fact that black families own 1/10 of the wealth of white families in America. So Joe and I have a plan that is about what I already shared with you about home ownership, but also $150 billion going into low-interest loans and access to capital for small businesses with a focus on black-owned and minority-owned businesses. Why? Because we know that has always been one of the great sources of economic health and well-being and opportunity in our communities. Joe and I have a plan that's about reform not only of the criminal justice system, but also with a specific emphasis on police reform. Because no more Breonna Taylors, no more George Floyd's. And so these are some of the examples of our commitment based on the fact that it's just the right thing to do, and frankly, it's long overdue. And in that way, I do believe that we have within our power in these next 18 days the opportunity to do everything to change the course, and Joe and I are committed to earning the vote of everyone. We do not assume that anybody's supposed to vote for us, but I do urge people to look at the difference and to know that the difference is severe, it is stark, and that's why, folks like Marsha Fudge and Joyce Beatty and so many others are supporting our agenda and these commitments that we are making.
Yeah. Senator Harris, I appreciate the time and this conversation. And on a lighter note, what did you say to the fly that was on Mike Pence's head the other night?
Oh, I'm not going to go there. You don't want me to start singing "Two Fly Don't Bother Me," do you? No, we're going to move on, but I will tell you that it's so good to be with you, and to the people of Cleveland and to your listeners, I just want to say thank you, because I do believe the road to victory travels through Cleveland, it travels through Ohio. So I want to thank everyone, because I know it is not always convenient to go and vote, but it is necessary, and people are making such an effort, and it is making an incredible difference.
Senator, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you soon in Ohio.
I look forward to it. You too. Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. All right, more coming up, y'all. It's 93.1 WZAK.